Are you currently standing in the astral realm with an impossible choice ahead of you? Scared to choose the wrong class and having to go through the entire 10-minute tutorial island process a second time? Well, I'm here to tell you about each of the classes currently available to play in Yugen Saga to help ease your suffering. There are currently 6 classes in the game: the Warrior, Knave, Mystic, Bard, Priest, and Monk. If you're currently sitting in your room watching this video thinking about how mad you are at your parents for allowing you to be born, then there's also a 7th secret class as well, but we're not going to be talking about it in this video. I'm the Dirty J, and welcome to my first video in a series I will be making to help new players understand how to progress through Yugen Saga. Let's get started with my favorite class, Mystic. If you like pointing and laughing at your enemies as you kill them from a distance while taking no damage, then look no further than the Mystic class. While having low HP and squishy defense, Mystic focuses on bringing down the might of the gods from long range on huge herds of enemies. Spells can be cast on any enemy target on your screen no matter what terrain is in the way, meaning proper position can leave the enemies hopeless to deal any damage to you while you chip away at their health. Look at this silly boss, getting the business. While single target damage for Mystic isn't terrible, it specializes in dealing damage to large groups of enemies all at the same time. While this does mean that grouping with a warrior can lead to large amounts of damage output, a smart Mystic can also deal large amounts of damage while kiting enemies. This makes Mystic one of the better and faster solo classes. So if you're like me, and you don't have any friends, then maybe this is just the class for you. Another benefit to Mystic is that you can bind yourself and others to certain locations, changing your respawn point from the Patreon Inn to a location that may better suit you. Perfect for if you finally want to make some new friends, as no other class can do this and people are going to be asking for your help all the time. While Mystic can gain experience quickly when piloted by the right player, having low to no defense means that it is easy to learn but hard to master. A good understanding of mob pathing and quick decision making will help you not only maximize your time alive, but also maximize your experience per hour as you guide monsters closer together to deal more damage. Players who do not like dying should probably not look to play this class at first, as making just one mistake can lead to a sad walk back to your training spot. The main stats any good Mystic will be looking to get are mana, intelligence, and wisdom. The spells that are used starting at level 50 use these stats to figure out how much damage you are going to do. Intelligence will increase your spell multiplier for all classes, and your main spells will do more damage based on your current mana. Speaking of mana, intelligence, wisdom, and how many friends you have, let's talk about the next class available, my favorite class, Priest. The Priest is another spellcaster class, but unlike the Mystic, which is a damage dealer, the Priest is a damage undealer. That's right, you probably could never guess, but the Priest heals and buffs teammates and is perfect for someone who likes to play games with other people or who wants to make friends, because almost every single person in this game is going to want to start playing with you if you pick this class. The Priest uses multiple spells to heal, some of which heal one person, some of which heal multiple people, some of which heal multiple people but only in a small area, and some that even heal people and unheal monsters. That's right. While the Priest is primarily a healing class, it actually does deal damage to monsters too. And I wouldn't say you're going to be blown away by how much damage you're going to be doing when solo, but being able to heal yourself in herds while doing okay AoE damage can lead to a very relaxed training session. Even better than healing, the Priest has some very important buffs that many players will want to group you to have. Divine Blessing will increase the stats of whoever it is casted on based on how much of each stat the Priest currently has, maxing out at double of each stat that the player it's casted on has. Priest also eventually gets the Refraction spell, which will reduce the attack and spell cooldowns of your target by 20%. And I know what some of you are thinking, and no, you cannot currently cast this on a boss to troll your friend into a funny death, but I'm here for that in the future. Because grouping in this game is almost always faster than getting solo experience, I would recommend playing the Priest if you really want to grind out some quick power levels. While buying intelligence, wisdom, and mana will help increase the total amount of damage and healing power you can dish out as the Priest, it will also be important to buy well-rounded stats to help increase the buffs that you will be casting on your party members. Speaking of classes that want to group with Priests, let's talk about the third class on my list, which happens to be my favorite, Knave. The Knave class is your typical rogue-style gameplay that you can find in other games. Being sneaky and positional awareness can lead to large amounts of single target damage on enemies, while the class also possesses multiple ways to get out of harm's way when the warrior you grouped AFKs for too long and dies while you're in the middle of a herd. No other class can deal as much damage to one enemy at a time at a similar power level as the Knave. While all classes can get bonus damage for striking enemies in the side or in the back, the spell aptly named Backstab not only temporarily stuns the mob you strike, but auto-magically moves your character behind to get some juicy bonus damage. Knaves do have access to a few AoE spells that are nothing to scoff at, but someone who is likely to enjoy this class is really just someone who wants to see big numbers. This makes the Knave one of the fastest boss killers in the game and can allow you to out DPS your friends and get the credit for that drop, allowing you to turn around and then extort your friend for gold. Knaves will rely on having a high dexterity stat, which allows them to move quickly and dodge more hits than other classes at similar power levels. They also have access to multiple dash spells, the ability to go invisible and sneak around mobs undetected, and even a pickpocket skill to steal your friend's gold when they aren't looking. Okay, that last one isn't true, but we can always hold out for hope. Another benefit to Knave is that it is widely considered the most fun class to play in PvP, as the attack skills can be fun to aim, their movement skills make it fun to dodge, and if you don't like someone, you just stun them for short periods of time while you try to convince some low-leveled noob player to kill them, and then you always have those bragging rights over them. Although if PvP is the thing that most excites you about this class, just know that currently, a lot of the time when you walk into the PvP section of the game, you'll probably be deciding to take a nap instead. Next, we're going to talk about my favorite class, the Warrior. Similar to the Mystic, you will be able to deal damage to huge herds of enemies while you point and laugh, except this time you get to sit directly in front of them and taunt them. Warriors are a support class that can take aggro on monsters to help ensure the rest of your party stays out of harm's way. This not only means that your DPS classes can focus on dealing damage, but it also groups up the enemies close together to get the most out of your party's AoE spells and skills. Having a high amount of armor on their gear, a warrior will be able to walk through maps easier than almost every other class. They have access to 2 buffs that can increase their armor, HP regeneration, and max HP, one of which also stuns the enemies closest to you for multiple seconds, allowing you to make a daring escape. Warriors also have 3 spells which can push enemies away from you, meaning that making one small mistake isn't just going to leave you stuck for hours on end trying to dig your way out of a huge herd of monsters when your Mystic positions themselves poorly and dies. While I personally find this class to be most useful for the utility it offers in groups and the ability to actually take a nap in the middle of a training session without worrying about dying, they also deal a respectable amount of damage. So while Warrior isn't the fastest class to gain experience solo, it is probably the easiest. You won't necessarily be able to tank an infinite amount of mobs in every map as soon as you get to it, but you will find yourself with a lower amount of deaths than every other class when going through the game. Unless you get a little too confident and forget to dodge a spell cast by a boss that reduces your armor down to basically 0, but that's a skill issue, so please don't blame the class. The main stats a warrior will buy with experience are going to be HP, stamina, strength, and also arguably wisdom. Having a higher strength will increase your weapon's damage multiplier, and your main spells will be doing more damage based on your current HP at the time of casting. While Warrior doesn't need a lot of mana regen to cast all of its spells, the spell Whirling Blades, which can be obtained at 1.2 billion experience, will actually heal you for every enemy hit based on a multiplier of your mana regen per tick. This means that sometimes the wisest warriors heal more than the beefiest ones. Next, I'd like to talk about my favorite class, Monk. The Monk class is unique to the others in that a lot of your damage is based around swinging your weapon at the monsters in front of you. So if you've always wanted to fight people in real life, but you're just too much of a nerd to actually throw a punch at somebody, then maybe this class is exactly what you're looking for. Early on, this class plays similar to Knave as it has multiple strike spells that you will be looking to try to use on an enemy one at a time. Later on though, this class opens up in my opinion to actually be somewhere in between a Mystic and Knave. While the class is more similar to Knave in gameplay, the Monk has better AoE damage than it, and it also has more single target damage than the Mystic. I do think this class works best in a group and is not necessarily one that you'd like to play if you're going to be mostly playing solo. The combination of being a medium armor type class while wanting to be close to big herds to maximize your AoE damage means that you can't realize your full potential without a warrior or priest in your group. The monk weapons do have a chance to deal double damage when striking an enemy, which can lead to big hits. They also have a spell called Unnatural Agility that will lead you to being able to deal large bursts of damage for small bursts of time. Speaking of monk weapons, there are also two different types of them at each tier. One of them attacks faster than the other, allowing you to get spell procs off more often, and one increases spell damage more for your AoE casting abilities. Not only does this mean that you get double the fun choices for how you want to build your character, but you also get double the fun boss camping when you get a legendary one to drop and it was the wrong type. That means that the monk weapon is also special in that it has a small chance to deal double damage to your mental well-being. Just kidding. You're not going to care about that because monk actually benefits really well from building all around on stats and doesn't necessarily want to build only one way or the other. While at first you will want to be building stamina and wisdom to regenerate HP while in herds and MP while casting all of your spells, you can kind of just buy whatever's cheapest for monk and you're gonna come out a little stronger at the end of it. Woo. Next we are going to talk about Bard, which is my least favorite class. I just want to clarify that actually Bard isn't that bad of a class or anything. In fact, there have been multiple patches where it's been flat out broken. It's really only my least favorite because it's the class I've played the least, and the only one I've never gotten to level 50 or higher. While I could have gotten help from other people in game to get video footage of what this class looks like later, I thought I'd just make you suffer through the low level slog that is going to be my under-geared level 17 Bard for about the next 2 minutes. Opposite to the priest, the Bard has access to many debuff spells that you will be casting on enemies. From poisons, to armor debuffs, to a spell that just makes enemies walk around in random directions for about 30 seconds, making your entire group mad at you when you cast it, the Bard is a great addition to any party. They also have a powerful buff called Cheer that increases the HP and MP region of any player near the Bard when they cast it for a short duration. And please don't listen to any of the people on Discord claiming this spell needs to be buffed. It's a spell that can be learned at level 5 and is going to be on the hotbar of every Bard for literally forever. Bard's main damage dealing spell is the Ballad of Destruction, which takes 33% of your current MP and deals a decent amount of damage to the enemies near you on casting it. While the damage is nothing to scoff at, similar to Monk, it can put Bards in a weird situation where they need to be close to a lot of enemies to maximize its damage, while simultaneously not being a class necessarily known to be good at taking damage. Bards can solo decently well, with multiple AoE damage dealing spells, but really shine in a group as it can maximize enemies hit and increases the damage of all of your teammates. You can also turn into a little goo blob that does literally nothing other than charm the hearts of everyone looking at it. I mean, look at it. Bards will mostly be focused on buying intelligence, mana, and wisdom like the other caster classes, but will also be looking for a slightly higher amount of stamina than the mystics as you will most likely be taking more damage. Bards have more spells than any other class, which means if you really like to roll your fingers across your numpad as fast as possible, this class is definitely something that's going to be a good fit. While other classes may have a couple spells on the second spell bar, I think some Bards are probably getting ready to ask for a third. Okay, maybe not, but there are multiple utility spells that you would have to put on your second bar if you really want to show other people just how much APM you can really dish out. I know I said I wouldn't talk about the 7th secret class, but actually there isn't one that really exists. And if you think you've heard of one, then you've probably just been misinformed. Anyway, thanks for sticking around to see what different classes there are in the game. I'm going to be creating guides for these different classes based on what people would like to see, and if you do have any suggestions for things that aren't class specific or leveling related, please let me know in the comments down below and hopefully I can get to those as well eventually. See you next time. Thank you.